Hello and welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka. We are discussing the important topic of the drought in Sri Lanka, but in fact, right, it's not just Sri Lanka. 2012, this summer, has affected not just Sri Lanka. Water being a resource that's been slowly diminishing in this time period, failed crops, electricity shortages, millions of people affected not just in Sri Lanka, but even abroad, be it India, China, America. And according to the latest reports, strange that we got a report from North Korea. And suffering from severe food shortages because of the drought. We have a clip ready for you. Let's see if we can take a look.
Yes, a drought has hit the western part of North Korea, resulting in dried corn and rice fields. And Korean news agency said the drought has affected parts of the northern province particularly badly. This is where much of the country's grains are produced. As of last week, crops were withering away in an area of the province covering nearly 20,000 hectares. Farmers said the corn of the species is harvested around late July after a growth period of 80 to 85 days. But this corn has not matured fully due to the severe drought. On one farm, the manager said, "We have been fighting a drought, but 280 hectares of the 858 hectare fields have been damaged." Seoul's Yonhap news agency reported a severe dry spell in North Korea was expected to exacerbate chronic food shortages in the poverty-stricken country, where the United Nations Food Agency said 3 million people were in urgent need of food aid. We're currently looking at the situation in North Korea. Well, like what you said, it's not just here, but interestingly enough, like a couple of years back, you can always kind of predict, like it's the La Nina, El Nino phenomenon. Now it's just, it seems like it's everywhere is El Nino. Like there's a severe drought, severe shortage of water everywhere in the world.
It's a strange thing, right? Because I mean, sometimes we see floods happening, and then we are like, "Oh, when are these rains going to stop?" And then the next moment, you have a drought. When are these rains going to come? And as we were talking on the matter of rain, we were talking to Mr. Hetiarachi about how we can conserve, how the public can help. And interestingly, we have this concept of rainwater harvesting. And we have, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Tanuja Aryananda. Welcome to the show, madam.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being in Good Morning Sri Lanka. And rainwater harvesting. How good is rainwater harvesting as a means of domestic conservation of water?
Yeah, this is not a new concept actually. It has been practiced for many centuries, both for domestic and agriculture use. Idea is actually to collect the rainwater while it's during the rainy season and use it during when it's not raining. In Sri Lanka, there's a lot of potential, especially in the dry zone areas, as well as the coastal line where the groundwater is saline, and as well as in the hilly areas where it rains a lot, but it doesn't retain up in the hills, so you have to come down to get the water. Huge potential here. We have about 35,000 rainwater systems in the country at the moment, mainly for domestic use. Idea is to collect it when it's raining and then to use it when it's not raining.
It is indeed the great King Parakram Bahu who once said that he will not let one drop of water that falls from the rain to go into the sea. And I guess that is why all the reservoirs and all were built. And now it's coming to that moment that even we as individuals, not as a state, have to take a step. Now we have animation on rainwater harvesting. We'll have a look at it just to get an understanding on what it exactly is.
Rainwater harvesting.
Yep. There we have it, right.
Very, very interesting. So, Mtvgmsl, if you could just explain it to us further, because I understand this is more than just putting a pail under under your drain, which is what I do, which is what I do. Because there was one time in my life that there was an unscheduled power cut and water cut, and luckily it was raining, and I had a pail and managed to take a bath. So, for our viewers, how does it really work?
Yeah, I mean there are several ways you can collect. What you saw there is actually collecting from the roof. You can what the rainfall which falls on the roof, you through the gutters you collect into a tank. It can be underground tank as you saw there, or above ground tank. It depends on where you how much room you have in your garden and things like that. Plus there's also you can also recharge the ground. What is flowing on the ground, you can let it seep into the ground, and that could enhance the groundwater table in the area. So there are several ways, and as you mentioned in the ancient time, like Parakram Bahu, those reservoirs all built to collect rainwater. So that not only store water in the reservoirs but also recharge the groundwater levels in those areas. Right. So it can be used for different purposes. In household purpose, you can use from drinking to other domestic washing purposes.
If I can just interject, looking at the slides that we just saw, is it a major investment to actually have these tanks? And
it can be. I mean, initial you have to spend some money to, especially for the storage. That is the main cost. Your main cost. But it can vary. I mean, you can have small storage just for gardening purposes, or you can have a big storage if you want to use for many other domestic purposes.
If you were to advise the people out there who would like to get on board this idea, what would, if you could estimate roughly, what would be the cost for a small, for a large?
I mean, it can vary from about 2,000 rupees to about 100,000, depends on the storage capacity of their tank. But it also depends on the use. Say for instance, if you are just using for gardening, you don't need huge amount, so you have a small tank for a small garden. If you are using for toilet flushing and bathing like that, then you will need, also it depends on where you are living. If it's a rainy area, rainfall is high, you don't need a huge storage capacity, because it will fill up very quickly.
And if I may, who should you approach for advice? Who should you approach for this technology and the instruments you need for such a,
you can contact us, Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum. We have a website also, www.lankarainwater.org. That also gives some advice. Water board also has some, they can also give some advice. Yeah.
Now, in some countries, due to probably severe drought conditions, harvesting rainwater has been compulsory. You think there will be a need soon for it to be compulsory in certain areas of the country? Like what you said, because it depends on the rainfall that certain areas experience. Do you think we will get to that point that it will be compulsory?
Actually, I'm happy to say we have actually a policy, national policy on rainwater harvesting. And following on that, from that there's a regulation, there's a amendment to the UDA regulation which says, usually it says whatever water that comes into your land has to be drained out quick as possible to the nearest drain. But it was changed in 2009 to say that certain amount of rain water has to be used in the premises, and only the balance can be put into the drain. The regulation came to effect in 2009, and it actually for the new buildings, it came to effect for the new building over a large roof area places. So if you use the regulation, then it will be good.
Mr. Hettiarach, in your opinion, with the National Water Supply Board, how important is rainwater harvesting with regard to what you all do? Is it something that must be done? Is it
well, I think from the, as I said earlier, demand management side, so we need to look into this matter, particularly in water short areas. We like to do business also because we need to collect income to maintain our organization and provide the services. So we like to sell more water. At the same time, we are conscious that there is a water shortage. So therefore, we are advising on both ways to rainwater harvesting as well as recycling. And it is now, we are at the discussions now to bring in a similar regulation. If you want to have a large building like complex like this, so definitely you need to have a recycling plant, right? So the buildings which is, I mean still the figures are not finalized. My gut feeling is that's about 15,000 square feet and above buildings need to have a recycling, and that water need to be used for flushing and washing and gardening and so forth. So this is somewhere. Then they will have to, their electricity bill will go a little bit up, but savings on water will be quite a lot. So those regulations to come into demand management. So I think we are advising, and we are at the discussions now bringing such regulations for the new buildings. The only thing is what Tanu just said about the 2009 change in the UD Act, the implementation is a bit of a, you know, not being implemented properly by the respective local authorities. So we need to take this matter very seriously to improve the water situation in the country by doing those things.
It would necessarily be ideally this time, because if this UDA regulation, now I saw it on the website yesterday, but I wasn't personally aware of it. I think if it went out to the people and they know that there is such a regulation, I think it will really serve a purpose. And as you said, Mr. Hettiarachchi, it's about demand management as individuals and households, which will affect the national supply and really solve the problem. So we'll come back to discuss more on this topic after a quick commercial break.